Hey everybody, let's get right to it. Let's continue where we last left off. I don't remember much. Oh right, what's his name? Yomugi? He told us a story about his survival from the plane crash. And then Kokoro had this weird childish outburst. And then this is like the aftermath, basically. Okay. After my outburst ended, I felt embarrassed right away. It was a little awkward. Yomugi stared at the wall, seemingly half shy and half shocked. Inside the cabin, the silence continued. I drank the last of the chamomile tea and found myself with nothing else to do. Perhaps he was the type to hold a grudge. Yomugi shrugged his shoulders.
わからないんですか？そんな偶然があればいいんだが、残念ながらあの吹雪じゃ場所の特定は。そうですよね。この小屋には何かないんですか？地図とか。散々探したよ。
I was at a loss. I was happy before, but our situation might even be more hopeless than I imagined. I searched in my pocket for anything that might serve as a clue. All I found was a voice recorder, VR. I guess that was to be expected. After all, if something I've been carrying had turned out to be a clue about this cabin, it'll just be scary. The playback display only reads data 1 and data 2. Having recorded data 1 myself, I already know what was on it, but I played it back even so.
Yeah, Chaika.
Yeah.
私はカモメ。これは世界初の女性宇宙飛行士。ワレンチナ・テレシコワの言葉だ。旧ソ連の宇宙船ボストーク6号に乗り込んだ彼女は一人完全な静寂と虚無に支配された宇宙空間を漂いながら。
It was my voice, although that was obvious. And then, Yomugi too took out something that appeared to be a machine from his breast pocket. While continuously staring at it, he shook his head slightly and laid it on the table. At first I thought it was a wristwatch, but it was a little bigger than an ordinary watch. It also had so many different attachments that it looked like it would be cumbersome. Was it some sort of computer terminal? The liquid crystal display was showing figures that I didn't know the meaning of.
何です？
GPS。まあ、簡単に言えば、今いる場所の座標を表示してくれる機械かな。
Well, I know what a GPS is, but we'll check it out anyway. GPS. Global Positioning System. A system which uses man-made satellites to calculate the position of a receiver, a person, boat, plane, car, etc. on a 3D grid system which spans the entire Earth. Yep. Okay.
すごいじゃないですか。
使えればね。
ということは。
ぶっ壊れてる。
Heartbroken, I dropped my shoulders.
多分墜落のショックで行かれたんだろう。動くことは動くけどな。デタラメな座標ばっかり表示してるんだ。
直したりとかは。
できるならとっくにやってるよ。ああ、結構高かったんだけどな、これ。
Yomugi let out a sigh. I sat back down in the chair. I wish he wouldn't thoughtlessly show me broken and useless things. The momentary hope I'd had caused my despair to return stronger than ever. My tongue sharpened with disappointment. I began to murmur sarcastically.
なんでそんなもの持ってるんですか？
つい癖でね。いつも持ち歩いてたからな。
Yomugi looked at it with a bitter smile as I tilted my head. What a weird old guy. A normal person wouldn't carry something like that around.
ま、場所については僕もあれこれ考えていたんだが、墜落する前までの状況を思い出してみたんだ。羽田を飛び立ってから墜落するまで2時間は経ってなかったと思う。
1時間から1時間半くらいですね。 飛行ルートから推測すればここは東北の山の中って可能性が高い。青森、秋田、岩手、そんなところだろう。
It's no good. That's too vague.
空気が薄いから標高は高いと思う。救助が来るのはしばらく時間がかかるかもしれない。
After saying that, Yomuki smiled as if to comfort me.
そう、心配するな。小屋があるってことはここは人が来る場所ってことなんだから。
Hearing that, I mustered a thin smile in return. Of course, I wasn't reassured by what Yomuki said, as I thought the situation was pretty bad.
本当にここ日本なんでしょうか。
変なこと言うな。なんでそんなこと。
なんだか現実じゃないみたいで。
都会暮らしのお嬢さんじゃそう思うのも無理ないかもな。
Hearing his slightly teasing tone angered me just a little. In that case, it was like I was totally helpless by myself, wasn't it?
ここがどこか僕知ってるよ。
Do you? Uni slowly got up from the bed. Though he still seemed partly asleep, he spoke with conviction as he rose. The music.
赤倉岳って言うんだ。
And how do you know that?
え？
I looked at Uni's face surprised. Yomugi was wearing a perplexed expression as
ど
well.
うしてわかるんだ。
Yeah. Uni's thin lips curled into a smile. His face without glasses was the most childish I've ever seen it. Even so, with a distant look in his eyes, he laughed as if he was the one who understood everything. I thought his facial expression was strange somehow. My spine suddenly tingled.
ユニ？
Uni stood up unsteadily without answering. Walking uncertainly, he turned to the entrance.
ユニ？
おい、どこへ。
ついておいでよ。
Uni smiled again. He was facing us, but his eyes weren't focused on us. Where is he looking?
教えてあげる。
Uni opened the door. Strong wind and snow blew into the cabin. Uni's figure disappeared into the white
おい、
landscape.
待て。
Yomugi went after him, with me following right behind. The snowstorm hits my cheeks with amazing force. Pain. More than the cold, what I felt was pain. I couldn't see in front of me. My eyes wouldn't open at all.
Uni!
I tried to yell, but my voice erased by the wind.
Uni!
And then, something pulled at my hand. I looked up and saw Uni.
ほら。
His finger pointed to beside the cabin entrance. I saw something with my freezing eyes. Oh. Mount Akakura Emergency Shelter Cabin. Oh, okay, so that's how he knows.
大したからくりだったな。吹雪のせいで全く気づかなかった。
へん。もうユニったらびっくりさせないでよ。
In the short time I had been outside, my body had become frozen through and through. It was impossible to keep the shivering out of my voice. Forgetting to wipe off the snow that clung to me, I rushed to the stove.
何が？いいの。なんでもない。
Uni squinted and followed me. His eyes seemed to swim.
ねえ、それよりメガネ。僕のメガネ。ごめん。
I picked up the glasses from the table and returned them to him.
何の騒ぎ？
Mayuzumi had gotten up. Yomigi explained to her about figuring out where we were.
それなら脱出できるのね。
脱出？
Not even close.
場所が分かったんでしょ？下山できるじゃないの。
Well, I guess we could. But that's really dangerous. It certainly felt like what she said was overly
い
obvious.
や、無理だ。
なんでよ。
分かったのは山の名前だけだ。僕はここに来たこともない。下山ルートは分からない。
Mayuzumi pointed in Yuni's direction with her chin.
そこのガキがコンパス持ってるんでしょ？それを使えば。
It seems the conversation between Yomigi and myself earlier had reached her ears all right. However, Yomigi shook his head and glared balefully at the
コ
doorway.
ンパスごときでどうにかなれば苦労しないさ。この吹雪の中を歩き回るのは自殺行為だ。おとなしく救助を待つのが得策だ。
Displeased, Mayuzumi let out a snort and again retreated to the top bunk. Continuing her nap, maybe. I kind of understood how she felt. We now know the name of the mountain we're on, but that didn't lead to any sort of solution at all. I continued to try to think of something else we could do. However, everything I thought of, Yomugi had already tried. It seems there was no method to establish contact with the base of the mountain. Fortunately, the cabin's basement still had a decent stock of firewood remaining. If there's some fire remaining, then we're alright when it comes to water, we just have to melt some snow. It wasn't a great amount, but there was a supply of food stored in there as well. If we ration it, with 4 people we can endure for 4 days, said Yomugi in an attempt to keep my courage up. After that, all we can do is wait patiently for the blizzard to stop and the rescue team to arrive.
ねえねえ、お腹すいたよ。
But wait, how do they know a rescue team will arrive if they didn't contact anybody? I mean, maybe a rescue team occasionally checks up on the cabin and see if there's anybody. It says it did say emergency cabin or whatever.
そうだな、飯にしよ
手伝います。
う。手伝うことなんて何もないよ。
While laughing, he picked up the cardboard box in the corner of the room. I followed behind him. I peeked into one of the 3 cardboard boxes that were there. Inside were a number of little packages, each smaller than a fist. There were freeze-dried emergency provisions. There was a stew, seasoned porridge, and rice. Freeze-dried. Freeze-drying. A method of rapidly freezing and dehydrating food, allowing it to retain its flavor and nutritional content even as it loses its shape. Freeze-dried foodstuffs can later be reconstituted with hot or cold water. Okay. I took one into my hand and checked the expiration date. It seemed to be totally fine. It seemed freeze-dried food could be preserved for up to 10 years. Wow. I'm thankful for the wisdom of mankind. Beside those, we'd found some hardtack biscuits as well. Feeling slightly nostalgic, I'm gonna try eating the hardtack. I opened the packaging and put some of the hardtack into my mouth. There was no taste at all. But it says this is a very delicious emergency ration. The moisture inside my mouth was sucked away, drying it out completely. They were emergency rations, so I guess that was to be expected. Let's see, what does the text say? Emergency rations, and as for this, there's a calorie of adult, so I can't read the rest.
おいおい、貴重な食料なんだから、もっと大事にしてくれよ。
That's right, we only have 4 days worth of food.
ごめんなさい。ああ、いいな、ココロン。僕も食べたい。
ダメだ。これは没収。
チュケチ。
Yomugi placed the biscuits back into the cardboard box. Yomugi pulled out an aluminum pot from the box beside it. Excuse me. It seemed somewhat flimsy, but if all we'd be using it for was heating things, it would just be
そ
fine.
れじゃあ、この鍋に雪を入れてきてくれ。
わかりました。僕が行く。
Uni snatched the pot from my hand.
もう、ユニ。
Ignoring my cry, Uni walked nimbly to the entrance. When he opened the door, another freezing gust blew in.
寒いぞ。
Mayuzumi complained from her bed. Inside the cabin, the wind swirled the snow it was carrying around. Carried by the wind, a newspaper flew out of a box and fluttered in the air. I picked it up without a second thought. And then, one of the articles inside caught my eye. Wait, did I? Oh, okay. I'll just read. Alon. 3 decomposed male and female corpses found on Mount Akakura. Missing passengers from the HAL crash. Holy crap! What is happening here? My throat went. Oh, but Uni's not there. Oh gosh. My throat went dry. My heart was pounding like a hammer. It wouldn't calm down. It's strange. Something was strange. There was something wrong with this newspaper. Date. Yes, it was the date. Today's date is Heisei 23. In other words, it should be January 11, 2011. However, this newspaper is dated July 4th, 2011. That shouldn't be. It's impossible. My breathing became pained. Wheezing sounds came from my throat. It was like my body wasn't my own. The hand holding the newspaper was trembling. Even so, I frantically read the article. Oh gosh. Time for the confusing crap to come in. The Aomori Prefectural Police announced the recent discovery of the remains of 3 men and women on Aomori's Mount Akakura. And let's check that out. Mount Akakura. Part of Aomori's prefecture southern Hakoda mountain range. Elevation 1,298 meters. It draws a fair number of people during the winter climbing season. Okay. Believed to be the victims of the crash of Flight HAL 18, which claimed 27 lives last January. As they had undergone extensive decomposition over a period of 6 months, the identities of the bodies are unclear, but they are assumed to be the last 3 unaccounted for among the missing passengers and crew members on HAL 18. The bodies were discovered 1 km east of the Mount Akakura shelter cabin. It has been confirmed that 3 bodies, which sustained a large number of lacerations in the avalanche days after the crash, are those of the survivors. However, due to the bodies of the victims being discovered away from the route down the mountain, the Aomori Prefectural Police investigation into the day of their death will continue. According to the Aomori Weather Observation Department, an avalanche affecting Mount Akakura and its surroundings area occurred on January 17, 2011 at around 6:53. After analyzing the traces left at Mount Akakura shelter cabin, it was concluded that those who had used it survived for 7 days after the crash. The horrific crash of Flight 18, with the discovering of the 3 bodies, claimed 30 lives out of the 31 crew members and passengers aboard. Whoa, only 1 person survived. 31 passengers, 30 deaths. Saved was a source of... Oh my gosh. Uni. Oh my gosh. Ksuda Uni-kun. What? Who the frick is Uni then? Oh my gosh. Oh gosh, this visual novel, I'm telling you, it's great. My voice grew hoarse, my entire body begins to tremble. It's weird, as I thought this newspaper is weird.
Oi. どうしたんだ? Oi.
Someone was calling for me. The voice seemed far away. My shoulders trembled. I shook that off, but trembling ran to my fingertips instead. The identity of the 3 discovered bodies. They are... Yomugi Seiji-san, Mayuzumi Lin-san, Fuyukawa Kokoro-san. Everything turns black. From within the core of my brain, my consciousness recedes to somewhere far, far away. Is this a dream? Yes, it's a dream. If it wasn't, we're going to die? So, it's kind of like a prediction of the future. Whoa, I don't know. As I thought that, an intense feeling of anger boiled over from within me.
嘘こんなもの嘘に決まってる
It's a lie. It's a lie. This has to be some sort of mistake. I try to blow it out, and then I grip the newspaper more tightly. Whoa, holy crap, what's happening? Oh my gosh. What the heck? My body flinched in surprise at hearing the sudden sound. There were fragments of a broken cup at my feet. Why were there cups? Had there even been any cups like this in the cabin? No, I shouldn't have been holding any cups in the first place. What I was holding was that cryptic
何言っ
newspaper.
てるの
Is she Satoru now? Oh, she is. Whoa. Okay. Oh, that means Sato has to be in Kokoro's body now. Which would mean he might have? Okay, Kokoro was about to rip the newspaper, I think? Or she was gonna do something with it. That either means Sato, if it's ripped, Satoru can't read it, or he can still read it, he can just put it back together, but either way, I think Satoru's gonna read the newspaper. He'll be even more confused. Right. Anyway, surprised again, I turned my head in the direction of the voice.
どうしたの？大丈夫？
All of a sudden, I saw the brown-skinned woman who had slapped me in my
こ
dream.
こは
I was confused. Sort it out. I have to sort it out. The things inside my head. Sort them out. The more I tried, the more of a mess it seemed to become. Calm down. Calm down, Fuyukawa Kokoro. Then, the brown-skinned woman rushed over to me.
もしかして体が痛むの？鎮静剤はまだ効くはずだけど、どこか痛む？
She peered worriedly at my face. Where does it hurt? Nowhere, really. I shook my head reflexively.
そう、びっくりしたじゃない。
The woman knelt in front of me and started to pick up the fragments of the broken cups. She glanced at me, then looked at me with a worried expression on her
怪我
face.
しなかった？
Her calm behavior left me bewildered. It was totally different than before.
何なの？
I asked as I shied away from that woman.
おっちょこちょいだね。
Oh, there's the other Uni. Uni was there. He looked at me with a teasing smile. I surveyed my surroundings. It wasn't the shelter cabin. Something came back to me. This room, too, had been in a dream I had before. Inside the room, there were two people besides myself. I remember seeing these two. These two people are the same as in the dream from before. The brown-skinned woman and Uni. In addition, beyond the living area, a single girl casually appeared. I remember seeing the girl too, Inubushi Keiko. Everyone stared at me with suspicion in their eyes.
どうなってるの？それはこっちのセリフだよ。本当にどうしちゃったの？サトル。
Yep.
サトル？
It was a name I've heard somewhere before, but where I heard it I can't remember. Or is it just my imagination? The name Sato is pretty common. No, something like that doesn't matter. Just what does this mean? If I remember correctly, I was reading a strange article in the newspaper. And the article had information about the plane crash as well as information about Uni being rescued. And it was written there that I was gonna die. I don't remember anything after that. I was at my wit's end. I wonder what happened to me after I saw the newspaper. I wonder what I did
本当
then.
に大丈夫？
The brown-skinned woman softly placed her hand on my shoulder. I shook it off unintentionally. However, I saw the woman's uneasy expression, and what I did became inexcusable.
ごめんなさい。
I was probably seeing the same dream again. The dream I had before I regained consciousness in the shelter cabin. That time I saw my own appearance in the glass. That shouldn't be. You gonna go check again? Praying that, I ran over to the large window on the south side of the living area. The window should reflect my appearance like a mirror. It certainly did reflect it. Yep, not me, but a man I've never seen before appeared there. In the last dream, the last thing I saw was this man.
嘘！
It wasn't a lie. The man reflected in the window made the exact same movements as myself. He shook his head as if saying no, no, and covered his mouth in shock. And I saw myself right away. This is me? That shouldn't be. Something like that can't possibly be.
サトル？どうしたの？
Uni stood right beside me. He looked up at me. I felt as if Uni had grown shorter somehow. Uni had gotten smaller. Oh, it's probably because Sato was taller. No, it was me who had gotten bigger, yeah.
ここはどこなの？
I grabbed Uni by his slender shoulders. Violently shaking, I questioned him. Uni's face became distorted.
痛いよ。
やめて！乱暴しないで！
The brown-skinned woman clung to me.
痛いってば。
Suddenly, tears started flowing from Uni's round eyes. I became panicked and released him. Strange. I don't remember gripping him that tightly.
ねえ、お願い、誰か答えて。ここはどこ？わかんないよ。はあ？怒らないでよ。本当にわかんないんだもん。
I turned to the brown-skinned woman. I asked with my eyes.
施設よ。
There was an unpleasant feeling in the woman's
施
tone.
設施設って何？
She turned her eyes away from me. The next word out of her mouth was a shocking one. Sphere, huh?
スフィア
Sphere.
それだけ言えばわかるでしょ。
スフィアですって？
Of course, I know of an institution called Sphere, the place where Inibushi Keiko was being held, an institution where the mentally unsound were isolated. But it's just Inibushi Keiko plus these people. The place where I was supposed to go. If the airplane accident hadn't occurred, I would have arrived at Sphere with no problems. Are you saying this is Sphere? Why am I at Sphere?
サトルの方がよく知ってるはずでしょ？
Uni had become frightened by my violent attitude from a little while
ね
ago.
えユニ、さっきからサトルサトルって誰のこと？
Oh gosh. She's gonna say, I'm Kokoro, and then they're gonna freak out again. Uni's eyes widened. Following his gaze, my eyes met the glass window that had reflected the figure of the male me. Even now, there was a man standing beside Uni after all. It wasn't reflecting me. Uni's eyes were looking at the man reflected in the window. In other words, Satoru is me? I approached the window one more time. I was being looked at with eyes I've never seen before. It was quite a fearless face. Cheeks and nose, mouth and forehead, I touched everything I saw. The man reflected in the mirror made the exact same movements. As a test, I stuck out my tongue. The man did the same. Contemptuous laughter resounded in the air for a moment. We had a staring contest. Various facial expressions were made. Now I'll try smiling. The man beamed a lovely smile. I feel sick.
嘘？こんなの。
I wanted to cry. The man reflected in the mirror gave a smile that looked almost tearful as well. A pathetic face.
男になっちゃった。
Muttering that, something suddenly hit me.
ねえ、洗面所はどこ？
Oh gosh.
みんなの部屋にあるでしょ。
みんなの部屋じゃわからないわ。
The woman shook her head as though
みんな
shocked.
の部屋はみんなの部屋よ。
どこにあるの？
どこってあなた知ってるでしょ。
It's no good. Our conversation's going nowhere. I started running. If this building's the same as the one in the dream I had before, I have at least a general idea where it is. While running, I thought, it's a little hard to run, isn't it? I found the bathroom and rushed inside. It seems my body sensations are different than usual. My shoulder slammed into the doorframe at full speed. It hurts, but now's not the time for that. I opened the bathroom door. Timidly, I brushed my body over my clothes. I was solidly built, but it seemed my body didn't get that much bigger. Medium build, average height, somewhere around there. For a woman like me, that was plenty build. However, my chest doesn't stick out the way it should. It's a little bit of a shock. There was a sense of incompatibility with my lower half. To be precise, the area between my legs. My cheeks grew hot with embarrassment. No, this isn't time to feel embarrassed by this. With my heart beating a little too fast, I took off the belt on my trousers. I pulled down the zipper. I lowered the trousers. This is unpleasant. Yeah, this is an emergency situation. An emergency situation! While I desperately persuaded myself, I gripped the elastic of the waistband and pulled it back. I stole a glance downward to the interior of my pants and... Haha, yep. The world spins. My consciousness fades. Jeez, I don't want to believe anything anymore. Are we going to go back to the cabin? Nope. We're still here. When I opened my eyes, I was looking at an unfamiliar ceiling. I had been sleeping in bed. My head hurt. I checked it right away and felt a bump. Moreover, what a horrible dream. Becoming a man, that doesn't happen outside of nightmares. Just then, I sensed a person's presence right next to me. There were eyes staring this way. I rose with a start. The person standing there was not Yomiki, nor Maizumi, nor Uni. Oh, it was Inibushi Keiko. I jumped up in a panic. But Inibushi looked even more panicked than I was. Maybe she had been surprised when I suddenly jumped up, but her body shook so hard she fell from the chair she was sitting on. She looked at me with frightened eyes. She didn't look at the least bit like a brutal murderer. Thanks to that, I relaxed and lowered my guard completely. It seemed like I'm falling into another dream. Fainting in a dream and then waking up in a dream. It was a strange feeling. I sighed
ご
deeply.
めんなさい。驚かせて。
Bowing slightly, Inabushi Keiko shook her head. Somehow, she gave off a rather docile impression. She was completely different from what I imagined after reading the file. Of course, it was a dream after all. Inabushi Keiko stood up and walked over to the desk. I looked around the room. I had fainted in the bathroom and lost consciousness, it seemed. If they found something like that attached to the lower half of their body, I'm sure anyone else would faint too. Clinging to that small hope, I tried shifting my lower body, as I thought there was an incompatibility. It seemed I was still a man. It was a dream, after all. I was having a dream where I was in Sphere. That was why it wasn't strange for Inabushi Keiko to be here. If it was a dream, then I would just have to defy it. That way, I would probably wake up. Inabushi Keiko turned to face me and hesitantly offered her hand. In it was a glass. It was full of water. For a moment, I didn't know what she was doing. It seemed that she had brought some water for me, and even though I had not noticed this, it took me a while to realize. I took it confused.
ありがとう。
Inabushi only nodded. I didn't know if she had slipped poison into the water she had brought me, and was a little hesitant. But in the end, I drank it. It was a dream, so it didn't matter if there was any poison in it. I chugged it down in one gulp. I seemed to be thirstier than I expected. The water was delicious. Inabushi quietly stared at me without breathing. She seemed to be looking at my complexion.
犬伏さん
When I called her, Inabushi shook her head.
何
Inabushi looked around the room and picked up the notepad on top of the desk. She enthusiastically wrote something on it. Not long after, she hesitantly presented me with the notepad. I took it without quite understanding why. Not Inabushi. Hotori was what was written. So Hotori must be her nice, kind personality.
そういえばあなた失語症だったっけ？でもホトリって何のこと？
Inabushi took back the notepad and this time ran the pen over it slightly rudely. Ooh, my name is Susukage Hotori.
鈴影ホトリ？
The girl nodded sharply, but I was sure I had seen her name wrong. This girl, she's Inabushi Keiko. Was she lying? If so, why? I observed the girl who had introduced herself as Hotori. The girl turned her eyes toward me. It didn't seem like she was lying. Then it occurred to me. This girl had DID, Dissociative Identity Disorder. Inside Inabushi Keiko, there were multiple personalities. In other words, Suzuka Hotori was a separate personality of Inabushi Keiko. Furthermore, it is possible that whenever she became Suzukage Hotori, she suffered a temporary loss of speech, which I honestly find cute. If aphasia was a mental problem, then Inabushi Keiko being able to talk while Suzukage Hotori couldn't was very possible. Another possibility was the main personality, Inabushi Keiko, had become unable to talk for some reason. In the meanwhile, I decided to go along with her. It didn't matter how many times I tried saying "you are Inabushi Keiko" to her, as to Hotori personality we probably didn't even know her. It had been established that, in the case of a person with multiple personalities, the different alters were not conscious of each other. No matter how one might try to explain it, it would probably be useless. I felt a little sorry for her. It was possible she was suffering in her own way too. No, wait. It was something from inside my dream. It was not certain that the real Inabushi Keiko had another personality named Suzukage Hotori within her. Yes, this is just a dream I'm having. It was only a dream, so it shouldn't be impossible for anything to
わ
happen.
かった。じゃあ鈴影ホトリちゃん。
I tried to talk as gently as possible. The girl blinked in surprise and answered my call.
私の名前知ってる？
Even if it was an absurd dream, it originated from the experiences and observations in my own brain's memory. In other words, even if they were unconscious, they were things I knew. They were things I had experienced in the past, even if I didn't remember them. Before uni, the uni that was at Sphere, that had called me Satoru. Had I met a man named Satoru in the past? I shouldn't know anyone called Satoru, well, enough to see them in my dreams. Satoru tilted her head. She probably didn't know.
参ったな。
At a loss, I put a hand to my face, and a dull pain ran through my head as I touched a bump at the back of it. Hattori quickly got up from my bedside to pick up a wet towel. She gently placed it under my head. It was pleasantly cool. The pain receded.
ありがとう。
Hattori nodded sharply, expressionless.
あら、気がついた？
This time, the brown-skinned woman entered the room. She saw me being nursed by Hattori and laughed
さ
gently.
っきは急に悲鳴を上げて気を失うんですもの。びっくりしたわ。しかもズボンをずり下げた格好で。
Oh. The woman's smile became strained for just a moment. I became aghast. Now that she mentioned it, I had certainly fainted in an extremely embarrassing position. No, the body itself isn't mine.
ごめんなさい。
I apologized by reflex. The woman was wrapped in a kind atmosphere that seemed to be able to forgive anything. Now that I thought about it, I still hadn't heard her
あ
name.
の、お名前聞いてませんでしたよね。
The woman's expression became a little tenser. What does I see mean, I wondered. However, the woman changed back to her radiant attitude at
私
once.
は内海カーリー。よろしくね。
Utsumi Kali. Utsumi. Kali. I was wondering if she was half Japanese after all. A name I had never heard before. Why were people I didn't know appearing, even though it was my
あな
dream?
たは？
え？
あなたの名前。
私は
Ooh.
冬川心。
Ooh, Kokoro. Ooh, why you do that?
やっぱりね。
Utsumi bent down and glanced in my face. Her eyes were fixed, looking straight at me.
落ち着いて聞いてね。
何？
あなたは DID よ。
Oh, they think I have DID. They think Kokoro has DID.
わかる？乖離性。
知ってます。
I see, it's obvious
あ
they
な
think
たは
that.
冬川心さんであると同時に有機堂悟さん。
もういいですってば。
But that's still weird that we still hear Kokoro's voice, you know? I'm pretty sure they're hearing Satsu's voice, but I'm pretty sure... I don't know. I don't know why they're doing that. Interrupting Utsumi's words, I got up from my bed. I had DID? Yes, that might have been true, seeing as how even though I was a woman, I had a man's body. But something like that didn't matter. This was a dream, so having DID wasn't a big deal. It was probably because I was unconsciously thinking about Inabushi Keiko. Now that I thought about it, before I got onto the plane that crashed, I remember being really nervous. The nervousness over interviewing a murderous monster, such a rare and horrific killer, had burned itself into my brain, and thus I had a dream like this.
サトル、起きたんだ。
This time was Yuni who entered the room. After seeing me, he called me Satoro, without hesitation. Yukido Satoro. I was mistakenly called that even at the shelter cabin.
ええ。
Yuni hesitantly looked up at me. It was probably because I scared him earlier.
大丈夫。
I wanted to say the same thing right back at him. Yuni didn't look so good. His face was awfully pale.
サトルだよね。
I let out a sigh. Explaining that I was Fuyukawa Kokoro yet again was a bother. He wouldn't believe me anyway. I have DID after all. It was a dream, so who I was didn't
そう
matter.
ね。そうらしいわ。
My head was throbbing again a little. Was this pain a dream too? Even though the feeling was so clear. Thinking that way, I got a little scared. This is really a dream, isn't it? My eyes met Hotori's. DID. There was the possibility that I really did have DID. In that case, it would explain why I was as Fia, as if it were natural. That's true. He could also explain the attitude Tsumi and the rest had taken toward me. This dream, this institute, Inubushi and Itsumi, they're all too real. Were dreams this vivid even possible? Lucid dream? Ooh, I know what a lucid dream is. But I'll read it anyway. When one is dreaming, yet at the same time conscious of the fact that he or she is currently dreaming. It can also refer to the technique of entering such a dream. It is said that those who are having lucid dreams realize that they are in a dream and are able to direct the continuation of a dream according to their own will. Which is really cool, but I don't think I've ever had one before. Which sucks. I would like one. Or maybe I just don't realize that I had one. I don't know. My head hurts. I'm confused again. For the sake of argument, if this is a dream, where's the real me right now? Maybe the plane accident was a dream as well. No, I think that part is real. I certainly got into an airplane accident, and right now I should be sleeping in a sheltered cabin on a snowy mountain. But that newspaper, in reality there's no explanation for it. Yeah, that newspaper is weird. Just what was that? You can also say, this is reality and a shelter cabin is a dream. It's possible to think that too. Is my real body a boy's? Which would mean that I was a boy originally. Meaning that the personality of the woman called Fuyuka Koko was born inside and only existed in a man named Yukido
ご
Satoru?
めんなさい。ちょっと一人にさせて。
No matter how much I think, I can't understand any of this. I don't want to think about anything anymore. If this is a dream, I want to hurry and wake up. Staggering, I left the room. I left the wild central room. I exited into the kitchen. Thinking I could calm down on the sofa, I headed toward the inner living area. Hattori was standing right behind me. Even though I said I wanted to be alone, it seemed she followed me. Hattori saw me jump back and tilted her neck. I wonder if she's doing it on purpose. I wonder if she's trying to make fun of me. It's impossible to rest like this. Having no other options, I decided to explore this institution. Moving to and fro, I finished walking around without thinking about anything. That being said, I had already gone over the inside of this institute once before. Now then, what should I do? It seems that the only remaining places to check out are 2 of the 4 doors in this room. As I face away from the main entrance, there are 2 inner rooms. I investigated the room on the left-hand side. Hattori didn't follow me. My gait slightly unsure. I walked in the direction of the living area. The light in the room was already on. The structure of the room looked exactly the same as the 2 rooms I had seen earlier. I didn't feel anyone's presence. The inside was silent. Several articles of women's clothing had been left spread across the bed. They would probably get wrinkled if they were left like that. It was a very private atmosphere somehow. In other words, the 4 rooms at the corners of this institution are for private use, which means that in this building there are at least 4 private rooms. In each room there is a single bed. The number of people in this institute can accommodate is 4, is what it means. The scale of the building itself is quite large, so it's surprising the number of people it accommodates is so few. Also, this institution doesn't seem to hold the presence of many people either. I haven't met anyone in Sphere besides those 3. The other people involved with Sphere, the doctors and nurses for example, where were they and what were they doing? Perhaps the extra people didn't appear because it was a dream? Or is there an unusual situation happening? I shook my head a little. I'm just going around in circles. I left the room. Itsumi and Yuni were in the kitchen drinking tea. Hattori wasn't in the living area. She had disappeared through one of the 4 doors, the last remaining door. Or it could be possible that the rooms belonged to Hattori herself. Since I didn't have anyone else to go, I thought I'd take a little peek. Casually, I followed after Hattori. Just as I expected, this room had the same layout as the other 3. The only thing different is that this room didn't have the feeling that it was being lived in. Also, that the sheets on the bed were in disarray. There wasn't anything else. The top of the desk was bare, and there weren't any changes of clothes to be found. In the first place, there wasn't any human warmth. A cold, dreary atmosphere enfolded the room. What does Hattori, Inubushi Keiko, think about while living in this room of hers? Hattori herself wasn't in the room. Just where did she go? Just then, a sound came from the bathroom. Wondering what it was, I peeked inside. Hattori was there. Water was gushing from the sink as she stared at the mirror. Her entire body was shivering. Holding her head, she yanked and tore at her own hair. Whoa. The sounds of Hattori's wild breathing resounded in the bathroom.
ほとりちゃん
Glancing at her face, I became speechless. Oh my. The expression I saw was full of anguish. Her mouth was open as though in a voiceless scream. Her eyes opened wide. She glared at Hattori in the mirror.
ほとりちゃんどうしたの
I put my hand on her shoulder and she shook it off violently. Oh my. I lost my balance and bumped my head against the sink. The continuous dull pain at the back of my head became sharp as it had been stabbed there. The water from the sink, which had been on the verge of overflowing before, was now spilling over. I was soaked, but now wasn't the time to be bothered by that. Hattori's long black hair had been disheveled as she violently shook her head. Is she deranged? It won't be good if this
ほとりちゃん
continues.
落ち着いて
Hattori began to moan louder and louder. Her voice?
まさか
Was the Inubushi Keiko personality awakening? That would be so bad. If that's so, it'll be dangerous. I looked about my surroundings and searched for a means of escape. Before the murderous monster awakened, it might be better to run away. But Hattori's voice slowly transferred into a scream. A ghastly shriek issued from her mouth. It's useless. I can't get free. Making an immediate decision, I gripped her in a chokehold. Oh my. In my arms, Hattori's entire body struggled violently. Even so, in spite of all the strength she was exerting, she seemed quite frail. No, it's me who's become stronger. It's probably because my body is a man's. And then the strength abruptly left Hattori's body. Looking across in the mirror to see what was going on, it appeared that Hattori had lost
どうしたの
consciousness. Possibly because she had heard the commotion, Utsumi came running, practically flying into the room. While holding up Hattori in my arms, I explained the situation to Utsumi.
そうだった
While muttering that, Utsumi held out a
手伝うわ
hand.
ベッドに運びましょう
Crazy. Wow. Utsumi and I both carried Hattori to her bed and laid her down.
冬川さんはもう戻っていいわよ彼女は私が見ておくからあなたも疲れてるでしょ今日はもう眠った方がいいわ
Saying that, Utsumi took something out of her pocket. She presented it to me. They were pills, sealed inside a silver-colored package. There were 2 white
眠る
pills.
前にこれを飲むといいわぐっすり寝られるから
That would mean that these were sleeping pills, wouldn't it? I took the pills from Utsumi.
後のことよろしくお願いします
おやすみ
I left the bed and went toward the door. Uni was standing beyond the door, which had been left open. Surely, Uni must have gone curious as well and came to check the state of things. I wonder how long he's been standing there.
どうしたのううんなんでもないのよ
I was tired and didn't have the energy to explain. Besides, I didn't want to give Uni anything to worry about unnecessarily.
行きましょう
I placed my hand on Uni's shoulder and urged him out of the room. Uni obediently followed. Hattori, who was stretched on the bed, appeared to turn over in her sleep as soon as the door shut. I returned to the place where Utsumi had told me was Yukido-kun's room and let out a sigh. The floor plan of the bathroom was the same as Hattori's. Where did she suddenly become deranged? And then, there was her voice. Hattori had let out a scream, even though she was supposed to have aphasia. Her vocal cords are still able to function, is what it means. That she doesn't normally speak is probably due to mental factors, as I thought. Or it might be that Inubushi Keiko had awakened. If that's the case, is it alright if she's not restrained? Isn't it dangerous? I feel insecure. I sighed deeply once more. Too many things were happening. In a shelter cabin in this dream sphere. I don't have time to calm down. Somehow, I'm awfully tired. It may be better if I just got some rest, like Utsumi told me to. The pills. I take out the pills Utsumi handed to me. I'll take them. No, they're not poisoned. I'll take them. I decided to take them. Due to my nervousness, my mind was excited even though my body was tired. The way things are, I don't think I'll be able to sleep. I walked to the refrigerator that was included with the room. I opened its door. There was a bottle of mineral water inside. A small 500 ml PET bottle. There were 3 bottles, all unopened. I took out one of them. I removed the cap from the bottle. A glass. There. Several glasses stood upside down in a row on top of the fridge. I picked one up and poured about 1/3 of the water in. I twisted the cap back on and returned the bottle to its place. I removed the pills from the package. They were white and circular. I suddenly thought of something. It'll be fine if I take 2 at once, right? I'd forgotten to confirm how many I was supposed to take. When thinking of the phrase sleeping pills, I can't help the negative mental image I have of them. If I take the wrong amount, it'll be the last time I ever go to sleep, never to awake again. I stared at the pills, made up my mind, popped them into my mouth, then washed them down with water. They didn't taste like anything. With the medicine package empty, I returned the glass to the top of the refrigerator with a small amount of water remaining in it, and left it there. It got a little colder. Of course, my body was soaked to the skin. In order to try to calm myself down, I decided to take a bath. If I take a while to catch my breath, some break in my mental deadlock might appear. I persuaded myself with that. It might be carefree, but I wouldn't be able to hold myself together for much longer like this. After giving the bathtub a quick rinse, I began to fill it with hot water. I sit on the edge of the bathtub and doze off staring at the surface of the water. Engulfed in the comfortable steam, I'm attacked by drowsiness. No, it's not simply on the level of drowsiness. I'm seriously sleepy. It feels like I'll just fall asleep like this. It almost feels as if I were dizzy. The inside of my hand had become dull. My body was incredibly heavy. It was most likely the medicine taking effect. Shoot, I have to wake up. I suddenly heard sounds coming from the room. Maybe Uni had come to visit. I called into the other room. No response. I poked just my head out of the bathroom and inspected the state of the room. Nobody was there. There wasn't any human presence. Was it just my imagination? I tilted my head and returned my eyes to the bathroom. The water looks warm and full of vitality. However, I'm so sleepy. All I'm doing is standing here, and even from that feet are becoming unsteady. This is bad. If this was going to happen, I should have bathed before I took the pills. It happened again. Again, I heard a sound. It must just be Uni playing a prank on me. I left the bathroom staggering. There wasn't anyone in the room after all. Maybe he's hiding. But there was no reply, and I didn't feel anyone's presence. Just to be certain, I looked anywhere that could be used as a hiding place. I looked in the closet as well. Still, Uni was nowhere to be found. Leaving the room, I even poked my head into the living area. There wasn't anyone in the living area, nor the kitchen. It seemed like everyone had returned to their rooms. The whole place was as silent as the grave. In that silence, I started to feel insecure. This entire institution didn't have very much human presence at all. I panicked and turned back to the bathroom, staggering. The hot water had already filled about 80% of the tub. I gently put my hand in it to test the water. A little hot, but that heat felt nice, and at the same time my drowsiness increased even more. My hand continued to splash and stir the water in the bathtub. Became aware of a fatal error. There's no way I can get in the bath naked when my body's a man's. I I remember that scene from before and immediately recalled how cold it had been. And then suddenly, the light in the room went out. Oh gosh. It happened so suddenly, and I was in a state of confusion trying to figure out what was going on. It was completely dark and I couldn't see a thing. Just who? Oh my. Now we're going back to Kokoro's body. This is where I stop. I really want to continue more, but I have things to do. That's it for now, and wow, we discovered some interesting things this playthrough. Wow. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Bye.